Good evening, I'm Katerina Georgieva. This is CBC Windsor News. Thanks for joining us. Despite economic uncertainty, a new business is setting up shop in our region. CBC's Emma Loop was at the grand opening.
Trade tensions between the U.S. and Canada might still be high, but that's not stopping one American company from spending millions to set up shop on this side of the border in Oldcastle. Convoy Technologies is an Indiana-based firm that makes cameras for commercial vehicles. The head of the company says tariffs against a different country made Canada an attractive choice.
In 2021, when we were looking at the situation between the United States and China, it was our belief that the situation between the United States and China was not going to get better, that it was only going to get worse. And so that has proven to be quite true.
Harker says they like the talent pool in Windsor-Essex and its proximity to the U.S. The Ontario government is giving Convoy roughly $324,000 through a regional development program.
What Convoy has to offer is a brand new industry that we don't have here that's complementary to what exists. I mean, in many ways, the sky's the limit.
As for the trade war between the U.S. and Canada, Harker says he doesn't pay too much attention to the headlines.
Because things change really rapidly. And we believe a lot of what's going on right now is both the Canadian side and the United States side are positioning themselves for the renegotiation of the trade agreement that will happen next year. And so, my advice to anyone is don't worry too much about the headlines, focus on your business, and that's what we're doing here.
The $17 million facility already employs a dozen or so locals. They have plans to hire 20 to 40 more, Harker says, and room to expand production. Emma Loop, CBC News, Tecumseh.
And time now for our first look at weather with Riley Lachuk.
So a pretty decent day overall today, although things will change as we get into the weekend. I'll get into that a little bit later on. Temperatures, I'll look at your afternoon highs, 24 in Windsor, Chatham, Kent, Sarnia, both at 23. These are actually a couple degrees below seasonal for this time of the year. That high pressure over us really helping to kind of dry things out as we've gotten throughout the last 24 hours or so. 16 degrees overnight. Risk that we could see maybe a bit of patchy fog here and there, so keep that in mind if you're out late into the overnight hours. Southeast winds at 10 through the overnight period. We'll start to get some cloud building in as we get through the afternoon into your Saturday. 29 degrees, a bit of humidity in there, and that fuels a thunderstorm risk that I'll talk about in a bit.
Thanks very much, Riley. Officials in BC are asking residents to do everything that they can to conserve water. The province faces more hot and dry weather conditions in the coming weeks, and experts warn that this year's drought season will be worse than the last. Georgie Smythe has more on what's being done during this conservation drive.
In BC's desertscape interior, a salmon hatchery props up threatened coho and chinook in a drought. This creek flanks the facility, but in the summer the water gets too shallow, hot and low in oxygen.
The warmer it gets, the more stress it has on the fish. The weaker fish are going to die.
So the river and ocean-going species are raised in groundwater.
So this is our aeration tower,
which is re-oxygenated on site and flows into the tanks to keep the fish alive. It's one solution to BC's increasingly hot and dry summers. More than 60% of the province is currently at elevated levels of drought. It's a year-on-year problem also connected to less snowfall in the winter.
August into September when the fish are spawning, there's no snow left on the mountains, so the water is getting hotter than it normally would if you had still had snowmelt running into there.
Prolonged drought has become so complex here, the province is now changing how it communicates the stakes to the public. An interactive online map, which once only reported drought severity, will be upgraded to show extra data, including how much water a community has stored for use and how well rivers and creeks are flowing.
The message is that we all have a critical role to conserving our water this summer, especially in areas where we're facing water scarcity.
The changes also bring BC in line with US and Mexico drought reporting to help monitor broader trends.
So it's really looking at that bigger picture of how we're using water and where the priorities of that water use really need to fall. At the end of the day, we want to ensure that there's enough water within our aquatic ecosystems to support those fish habitats and the other wildlife.
The province says these new measures are ultimately about increasing resiliency. Climate change is driving more extreme and unpredictable weather here, and BC needs to be ready. Georgie Smythe, CBC News, near Merritt, BC.
Beer and wine are often in the summer drinks cooler, but these days, ready-made cocktails are creating more of a buzz than their traditional competitors, including over how much of a buzz they give you. Anis Haydari cracks open the case.
Cutwater canned drinks pack a punch, at least according to social media.
12.5%.
Like 1 can, I'm drunk. 2 cans, I'm near blackout.
Ain't no way a little bitty can hit you like you took 4 shots.
These beverages are known as ready to drink or RTD. And it's not just one brand. Their alcohol levels have a wide range, often higher than a typical can of beer.
People want things that are maybe twice as strong as your average RTD, and so that's why they're bottling them at 10 or 11%. They're producing that because there's a demand for it. Now, whether people are noticing that or not is a whole other matter.
Regardless of whether people notice the booze, retailers are noticing their buying habits. Ready-to-drink beverage sales are up. Last year, 9.5% higher in Ontario, more than 6% higher in Alberta. At the same time, wine and beer sales dropped. Convenience could be one reason.
Because I can now buy my vodka soda or my margarita, or I can buy any of these things in a very convenient package that tastes great, and I don't have to go buy a bottle of tequila or a bottle of vodka or a bottle of something else and a mixer and mix it myself.
But experts point out many consumers assume a can is a can is a can. With RTDs, their guess might be wrong.
It's like equivalent to a glass of wine, so I have a couple of these, I'm okay. And I'm not doing 5 shots in a row in a bar.
Maybe not 5 shots in a row, but some cans definitely have more kick than a glass of wine.
The average consumer is probably just assuming they're all going to be about the same, and so there won't be that much difference.
The advice, buyer beware, check the label, or the drinker will end up drunker. Anis Haydari, CBC News, Calgary.
And on that note, returning beer cans might mean spare change for some, but for others, it's a lifeline. And now with Windsor's downtown beer stores shut down, people are having to go the extra mile, literally, to cash in. CBC's Mike Evans spoke with those making the trek.
Beer store downtown is closed now, so I got to pedal way further, and sucks kind of.
Those beer cans that you have, are those yours or are those ones that you've gotten from other places?
Well, I have a couple of friends too, because no one wants to drive the distance to return the cans. The other day I had a lot more. I had 210 cans and 115 bottles, and it was quite a load to carry on the bike, that's for sure.
Before the closures downtown, what store would you go to with your empties?
It was always the one across from the Food Basics there on McDougall.
And do you know other people who have to drive bikes or walk on foot or push a shopping cart to drop off empties?
A lot of my friends, so really it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of cans lying around as far as I know. Whoever can get the cans, they're going to be carrying a lot more to the beer store.
What would happen to you and to people like you if this location closed?
I'm hoping that there would be some other locations that would open up, like bottle depots or something to that effect. There would have to be, because there else would be cans everywhere. They'd be going to the dump.
They made a big mistake as far as I'm concerned by closing down a bunch of the beer stores here in Windsor.
Do you have other friends around town that are kind of in the same predicament that you're in, that they don't have access to a downtown beer store anymore?
Many friends that, well, a bunch of us that actually go out collecting empties. Really, it's tough to find work around here, and in my case, it's due to an accident. I'm not able to work anymore, unfortunately. Definitely have a few close calls. The bags aren't very strong.
What do you think should be done for people to make it more convenient for people?
Bottle depots. Bottle depots like they have out in Alberta. They take everything back.
I don't drive because I have a medical condition, so people like me that are not legally allowed to drive, can't take this on the bus. The beer store downtown was a community of the poor, the homeless that go out and stuff, and then just the hardworking people. Plus you get to know the staff, because a lot of us downtown, We're downtown for a reason. It's always accessible, whether it's doctors or food, and all of a sudden now we got to walk all the way across town. I can buy my beer at 7-Eleven, but I can't return my empties at 7-Eleven. What kind of sense does that make? And then I'm waiting for the winter now.
The City of Windsor released more information about the upcoming by-election to fill the Ward 2 council seat. The election itself will happen Monday, October 27th, and if you like advance voting, mark your calendars. That will take place Friday, October 17th and Saturday, October 18th at Campbell Baptist Church. And as for the candidates, well, they have until September 12th to register. In another part of the country, an investigation is underway in northern Quebec after a person was shot dead by police in Nunavik. It's the third fatal police shooting in the region in 8 months. Authorities say it happened Thursday night in the community of Inukjuak. Quebec's police watchdog says it's launched an independent investigation and that investigators are flying into the community. It is home to about 2,000 people, most of them Inuit. And in the West, Manitoba is experiencing its worst wildfire season in 30 years. The number of fires burning is well above the seasonal average, and that is leading to hundreds being forced from their homes as the province works to move evacuees from shelters into hotels. Nearly 13,000 residents from 9 communities are now under an evacuation order. Hundreds of them are staying in group shelters. There are 4 provincially run shelters in Winnipeg, and the main one is at the RBC Convention Centre. Since Monday, more than 700 evacuees have been sent to hotels. The province says it is working to match evacuees with rooms that meet their needs. And meanwhile, a new report looking at the response to last year's devastating Jasper wildfire says firefighting efforts were hampered by the Alberta government. The review says jurisdictional overlap between the town, province, and the federal government created, quote, political challenges that distracted incident commanders. That complicated the fire response and re-entry efforts. The report also noted, however, that mutual aid agreements and solid work relationships helped all 3 levels of government and outside partners to work together. The report comes nearly a year after the wildfire tore through the Jasper town site, scorching about a third of its total buildings. Jasper is an icon of the Rocky Mountains. In American news, U.S. lawmakers have given final approval for more of Donald Trump's spending cuts. This time, Trump has slashed $1.1 billion in funding for public broadcasting. A small handful of Republicans in the House and Senate sided with Democrats, including Alaska's Lisa Murkowski, who relayed how public radio was vital in warning about a tsunami.
When the tsunami sirens started to blare, the voice message in the warning instructed community members to tune in to the local radio.
The $1.1 billion clawed back from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is the amount the organization was set to receive from Washington over the next 2 years. Trump says public broadcasters funded through the agency, like National Public Radio, have an anti-conservative bias. Another story making headlines. After more than 30 years, CBS is pulling the plug on The Late Show. Stephen Colbert, who has hosted since 2015, shared the news with his audience Thursday night.
Next year will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And
the decision comes just days after Colbert spoke out against CBC's parent company, Paramount Global, after it settled a lawsuit with Donald Trump. The company agreed to pay $16 million after the U.S. president's legal team claimed a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris was edited to paint her in a positive light. In a statement, CBS executives say the Colbert decision is financial and not related in any way to the show's performance or other matters happening at Paramount. The Late Show is currently the most watched late-night program. And a neat little story before a break now. Scientists in England are about to melt a sample of the world's oldest ice for climate analysis. It's a 1.5 million-year-old core taken from deep inside an Antarctic ice sheet.
So this is a really exciting project to work on because we really are exploring a completely unknown time in our history. And what we're hoping is we're going to unlock all these amazing secrets.
The ice core is believed to contain important information about Earth's climate history during a previously uncharted period. Scientists say the sample drilled from a depth of 2.8 kilometers holds atmosphere captured more than 1 million years ago. They say that during that time, there's evidence to suggest the ice sheets were actually smaller, sea levels were potentially higher, and carbon dioxide levels were similar to today. Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back. Donald Trump has directed the U.S. Attorney General to seek the release of some of the documents in the Jeffrey Epstein case. It comes as a new Wall Street Journal article is raising questions about Trump's past relationship with the late sex offender. Chris Reyes has the latest from New York.
Mr. President, why not go further than just unsealing this?
President, did you send that letter? At a White House event today, President Trump walked right past reporters asking for more clarification on the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. That comes on the heels of a directive from the president to Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the grand jury testimonies in that case following what Trump called a, quote, ridiculous amount of publicity lately. Now, very quickly, Pam Bondi responded and said her department will move the court to unseal the grand jury transcripts from the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, does that mean that we'll see documents anytime soon? Likely not, and that's because getting grand jury transcripts unsealed can take a very long time in this country. Jeffrey Epstein died before he could face trial, and so all of that material that determined he should be charged was actually never made public. Remember, Epstein was in prison when he died, facing multiple charges related to sex abuse and child sex trafficking. And Trump really made a big deal about being the guy to finally pull the curtain on all of this while he was campaigning for president. And so when Attorney General Bondi earlier this month said that there's nothing to release, no foul play in Epstein's death, there was massive backlash. And surprisingly, it came from the Trump MAGA base. One Republican strategist says he doesn't see Trump's supporters turning their back on the president on this issue.
I firmly believe the MAGA base will stay united behind President Trump. And I go back to this Wall Street Journal piece. This is the kind of stuff, frankly, that rallies the base, the MAGA base behind President Trump. This will actually energize them, and that's a big component here.
Adding more fuel to this story, the Wall Street Journal has published an article about an alleged letter that Trump wrote Epstein on his 50th birthday. The claim is that this letter was signed by Trump and that it came with an explicit drawing of a woman naked. Trump has called the letter fake and is now threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal. Krish Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Extreme skydiver Felix Baumgartner, famous for jumping from the edge of space in 2012, has died in a paragliding accident in Italy. He was 56 years old. CBC's Briar Stewart has more on what happened and the legacy Baumgartner leaves behind.
Felix, disconnect.
It was a world's first watched by millions. When Felix Baumgartner jumped from the edge of space in 2012, he set a record for being the first person to break the sound barrier while skydiving. During his more than 4-minute free fall, he reached a top speed of 1,350 kilometers per hour.
There's the chute.
When he pulled his parachute and eventually landed in a field in New Mexico, it was heralded as a success. It was his most high-profile stunt in a life marked by big risks and adrenaline.
When I was standing there on top of the world, you become so humble, you do not think about breaking records anymore.
Baumgartner died Thursday after crashing near a swimming pool at a tourist resort in Italy. At the time, he was in this motorized paraglider. In recent days, he had taken multiple videos of various flights along the Adriatic coast. Reports suggest that the 56-year-old may have had a medical issue midair. I thought he was landing, says this eyewitness, but then I saw him fall. Baumgartner's jump in 2012 was sponsored by Red Bull, the energy drink maker.
He'd dreamt about that since a kid, and it was just a joy and a kind of really proud to have been part of that journey with him.
At the time, the jump broke several records, including the largest live stream audience on YouTube. It pushed the limits of what was humanly possible and brought the edge of space to a captivated global audience. Briar Stewart, CBC News, London.
We will have Riley Lachuk back with us after the break with more on weather into the weekend. Stay with us. is time now for your full weather forecast. Here's Riley Lachuk leading us into the weekend.
All right, so we are looking at conditions changing slightly as we get through the weekend, aided in part by our upper level winds. Quite a bit of lift in this trough that's developed, which has also helped to kind of cool our temperatures down over the last couple of days. Also because of this low pressure over Hudson Bay up in the atmosphere, helping to drag in some cooler conditions. So that's helped dry out our atmosphere a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, though, we are looking at things changing as we get into the weekend. Nice sunny day today, bit of high-level cloud here and there, but other than that, into a mainly sunny sky today. Pretty decent summer day, if you ask me, and we are setting up for a pretty decent weekend as well, with a bit of an asterisk in there, which I'll get into in just a moment here. So Saturday starting under a mainly sunny sky, but once we get into the day, this particular forecast model not doing a great job, but we will get some cloud building in as we get into the afternoon hours. And as this cold front pushes through, this does fuel a chance of some showers or even some pop-up thunderstorms as we get into the later part of Saturday and into the day on Sunday. So just know that there is that risk that we could see some heavy downpours in some of this, or some strong winds. I'm not talking thunderstorms everywhere, but certainly we could run into some isolated rumbles of thunder as we get through the later part of Saturday. Into Sunday, some clouds still hanging around. Out of some of this, a slight chance that maybe we get a couple of raindrops, but other than that, we are looking at some sunny breaks as we head through the day on Sunday, starting to clear out once again as we get into the day on Monday. Thunderstorm risk, I want you to look at this area in yellow here. Pay attention. This is where we have the greatest likelihood into Saturday afternoon of seeing some thunderstorm activity. We're talking winds gusting up to 70 to 90 kilometers an hour, some hail up to the size of quarters, and of course some heavy downpours and some of that. And like I said, we're not talking thunderstorms everywhere, but certainly just keep your eyes on the skies as we get through the day on Saturday into early Sunday, that we could get into some rough weather as we get through the weekend here. In behind that, some gusty winds start to set in, looking at some gusts up to 40 as we head through Saturday into Sunday. We will start to see those winds dropping off, though, as we get through the afternoon hours. Things do start to stabilize once we get Sunday into Monday. So your temperatures first thing in the morning already at 21s for Chatham, Kent, and Windsor, getting up to 27s, 28s by 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And in your long range, looking at 29 for the high tomorrow, down to 21 as we get through Sunday, and temperatures seasonal into next week.
Thanks very much, Riley. And thanks to you all for watching. Have a fabulous weekend, and we will see you back here on Monday.